Hey everybody, it's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 7 4 key game picks. Before we get into those picks, I can't get through everything that my thoughts from what happened in week number 6, but before we get into my picks for Week 7, let's just see what I can get through right now because there was a lot of things that did happen in week number 6 here. Obviously, I think the big blow came with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Roethlisberger to have knee surgery. It is not a season-ending injury, but that does bring a huge, huge blow to their offense. Not only we have Jones that has to come in for the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's going to bring up a lot of questions now of what their offense is going to be without Ben Roethlisberger now being out for who knows how long. But from what I read in the Pittsburgh Steelers is that it is not a season-ending injury, but he will have to have some sort of surgery to repair on his knee. I don't know how long he's going to be out, so it could change the whole dynamic of the AFC North now that Roethlisberger is not available. So wait and see what will happen in terms of what happens in that division, but I still think Pittsburgh still has a decent team now, and I think they're going to have to really rely on their running game and their wide receivers to really help out Jones out, because he's going to have to be taking over now for the Steelers. What is wrong with the Green Bay Packers? Last week when I said that that I would think the Packers would probably do a number on the Cowboys, boy was I wrong on that one. Who would have thought that Prescott would go in there and shred the Packers defense? And I mean shredded them. Boy, this Cowboy team, I would say that if anybody, any Cowboys fan out there, I would say, you better get on the phone or whatever you want to do to tell Jason Garrett, don't you dare change quarterbacks now. I think to keep this engine running, I suggest Cowboy fans, you got to stick with Prescott. He has developed quite a chemistry with his wide receivers, and the offense really is getting it going here. So putting Tony Romo back in a situation where he hasn't been in months, I just think that chemistry may not be there if Jason Garrett decides to bring back Tony Romo. I think to me Tony Romo is done. I think to me his time with the Cowboys is nearing an end. Well, let's see. Other thoughts going in. Patriots still on a roll, which was kind of a given because the fact that the Bengals were not playing very well, that was obvious to me. Brady's first home game. They did struggle in the beginning, but I just think now with the presence of Brady there, I think to me it really not only changed the dynamics of their offense, but it does bring some confidence to their defense now. And I've been criticizing their defense the last few weeks because of their lack of put together to stop a lot of stoppage in terms of other teams' offense. But now it seems to me now they finally are back on track, and I think to me now if I look at it now, the Patriots now are the heavy favorites now in the AFC now. Now that the Steelers without Roethlisberger, I still would have considered Pittsburgh still a threat to them, but now that it changes the whole dynamic now in the AFC conference now, the Patriots now are definitely now the heavy favorites in that conference. As far as the NFC goes, well, Minnesota had a bye week, so I can't really say much for Minnesota as they will play right now. Minnesota right now is still probably the top team now, and probably I would still say the Falcons and the Seahawks now on the rise. Now, I don't want to get too much into that game. Obviously, that play late in the fourth quarter that Richard Sherman got one of the receivers, yeah, it was really a tough call there. Atlanta's coach Quinn, he did have a case. That did look like pass interference to me. And it was really a lot to say. Seahawks ended up winning the game on a game-winning field goal, and really, just it was a tough call there. It really wasn't a lot to say in what I figured. Like I said, there is a lot more I could get into right now, but I really want to try to keep this video under 10 minutes. So now let's get into the picks. All right, before I get into that, now for these games that I'm about to talk about here, 2 of them are going to be pretty obvious picks. 2 of them, these are not sure picks. And I'll tell you why. Let's begin with key game number 1. The Vikings at the Eagles. The Vikings are a 2.5-point favorite. I would say that's about right. And I say this with the fact, look, Minnesota was on a bye week last week, and the Eagles, the last few games, they're playing terribly. Prior to the bye week, Radford in his last game against the Texans went 22 of 30, 271 yards and 2 touchdown passes. So let's just see if he can keep that going against the Eagles. Now, Wentz did not have a good week last week. He only went 11 of 22 for 179 yards and no touchdowns. Philly's offense really needs to get back on track because this is a team, this is a Minnesota Viking team you better be ready for, because their offense is on a roll, their defense is really stepping up, and this is going to be a pretty obvious pick here. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings here. The Eagles right now, they got issues right now, and if they don't resolve their offense and their defense there, it's going to be a long day for that team, and this is why this is kind of a sure pick right here. I got to go with the Minnesota Vikings here. The Eagles, there's a lot of questions now riding on this team. They were on a roll in the beginning, but now heading into the midpoint of the regular season, now there's questions with this team. What are you going to get out of this team now? Now you got to wonder. Minnesota's still on a roll. Do I give the Eagles a chance? I don't really give them much of a chance in this game. This is why I got to go with the Vikings here. Vikings over the Eagles. Key game number 2, the Redskins at the Lions. This is one of my not-so-sure picks here. Currently, the lines right now, that the Lions are a 1-point favorite. Who's to say that the Lions may go to even towards the end of the week, because both teams are evenly matched here. Cousins, despite having to come from behind to beat the Eagles, I mean, they did a number in the fourth quarter on them. Cousins went 18 to 34, 263 yards and 2 touchdown passes. And Stanford, for the Lions, he went 23 of 31, 270 yards of passing and 4 touchdown passes in a big, big win. They had to come from behind against the Rams. The defense really fell apart in that game, and the Rams offense, there was a lot of questions in that game after Jeff Fisher went for it on 4th down late in the first half when they should have got 3 points, and they didn't. Those 3 points really cost them the game. And when it comes down to it now between the Redskins and the Lions, this is a pretty evenly matched game, and a big one for the Redskins to keep pace with the Cowboys. With the Cowboys now going on a bye week, this is the Redskins' chance to gain up at least a half a game or a game to at least get closer to them, because the Redskins are currently in second place right now in that NFC East division, and this game could be critical for them down the stretch. Now, the Lions, it's also a critical game for them to keep pace with both Green Bay and Minnesota. Very, very tough pick here, but I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions here. They seem to be getting intact here. The Redskins may be a little bit better, but they're actually an underdog in this game. But like I said, towards the end of the week, the lines might be even here. The lines for these games might be even, but I'll go with the Lions here. They are a 1-point favorite in this one, and I'll stick with it. So yeah, I'll say the Lions will beat the Redskins here. I think the Lions' offense are intact right now, and if they get behind, the Redskins' defense better be ready for them. But I think I'll take the Lions in this one. This is not a sure pick here, and that's what I'll stick with. The Lions over the Redskins. Key game number 3. This is really another sure pick here. This would have been a good one here if Roethlisberger wasn't hurt, and I think you guys know what I'm going to talk about here. It is the Patriots at the Steelers. And talking about Brady and Roethlisberger here, Brady went 29 of 35, 376 yards, and 3 touchdown passes. For Roethlisberger, 19 of 34, 189 yards, and only 1 touchdown pass in a loss against the Dolphins. Now with Roethlisberger hurt, now it's bringing on a lot of pressure at quarterback now for the Steelers. And really, I just think the New England Patriots are going to have a field day with the Steelers here. The Steelers defense really needs to step up here. And if the Steelers want a chance to win in this game, their running game really needs to get going here. And the wide receivers really need to get going. Brown needs to get involved here. I don't know if Le'Veon Bell's going to come back in this game or not. I'm not so sure about that. You can quote me on that later in the week if you guys watch this video. I don't know if he's going to come back for this game. He's still questionable to return. I mean, Pittsburgh really needs a lot of help here, and without Roethlisberger, I don't really give the Steelers much of a chance in this game. I mean, I hope they surprise me, and I hope they do beat the Patriots, but I just think the Patriots, they're a 7-point favorite in this one, and I just think that's just about right. I just think, to me, if Roethlisberger wasn't hurt, that number would be much lower. But I got to go with the New England Patriots here. I just think the Patriots offense will be too much for the Steelers here to handle. And it's a critical game for the Steelers here. Now with Roethlisberger hurt, you want to stay ahead in the AFC North. But I just think it's going to be too much for them to handle the Patriots. And that's why I got to go with the Patriots. Patriots over the Steelers. And finally, key game number 4. We have a good one. It's out in Arizona. It's the Seahawks at the Cardinals. The Cardinals are a 1-point favorite in this one. The lines could get even at the end of the week. This is another game that I think it's not a sure pick here, and this really is going to be critical for both these teams to, especially for the Seahawks. They're currently in first place right now. They want to be ahead by at least 2 games here. Arizona, they want to get back in the midst of things right now to try to keep pace with the Seahawks. So this is a very big game for both these teams here. With Wilson going last week 25 of 37, 270 yards, and no touchdown passes, which was surprising here. The running game and the special teams really did the job in giving them which basically a lucky win over the Falcons here. And really, their defense now is going to be a lot of questions in this game here against the Cardinals. Now, Palmer, there's a lot of questions now on Palmer's health. I mean, he did get hurt. It was a strained hamstring. I don't know. He might be questionable for this game here if Stanton might come in for the Cardinals here. And this is why this is not a sure pick here. Now, Palmer, prior to being hurt, went 23 of 34, 213 yards of passing, and 1 touchdown pass. And really, the running game really did the job, and that's what the Cardinals are going to have to rely on a lot if Palmer's still feeling the pain of his hamstring here. So I don't have much information on that. I don't know if Palmer's going to be playing in this game or not. But right now, it's really a huge toss-up in this game. But I think I'm going to go out all out on the upset here. I think I'm actually going to go with the Seahawks in this game. I just think, to me, that Arizona's offense, there is a bit of a concern here. And it's not just Palmer. But their defense right now, even though they were playing the Jets, they played very, very well. But I think their defense here is going to be a question. It's still kind of a bit of a question here. They got to really, really stop Russell Wilson in that offense here, or Seattle could run over them pretty easily here. But in this game here, it's really a tough one here. This is not a sure pick here. I'm going to go with the Seahawks here. This may be my upset for week number 7. But like I said, this is not a sure pick here, and that is why I'll pick the Seahawks in this one. I think the Seahawks offense is just maybe a little bit better, and a lot of questions now on Carson Palmer if he's still hurt, if that hamstring is still hurting him, could be a factor in this game. So that's why I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the Seahawks over the Cardinals. All right, that wraps up my picks for week number 7. For all the week 7 lines and my picks for all of week number 7, go to thesportblog.blogspot.com. Remember, my video goes up first, and then once my video goes up, then I will post up all of the lines and all my picks at my blog. So be sure to check that tomorrow on October the 19th. 2016. Until then, I will see you guys all next week when I talk about my picks for week number 8. Until then, take care and enjoy your football weekend.